All right, so there was a lot of information contained in chapters 1 through 4, and again, when Paul writes, it's not just clean and focused, although his points are very well made. It's hard to follow because he sort of jumps around, inserts a lot of ideas, and confuses things. So the point of this video is just to say, look, having gone through the first 4 chapters, what was Paul really saying? And so here it goes. We all need to be in right standing with God, and we're not. And that's both Jews and Gentiles. Now, this right standing, it's not attained by being or becoming Jewish. Now, that was Paul's point, but I think that transcends time, and I think we could today, if we just insert the word Christian instead of Jewish, it's the same message. This right standing isn't attained just by being in the club. This right standing is attained through faith. Now, what is that faith? It's our faith in the Messiah and the work that he accomplished and what that is supposed to mean to us, and the actual faithfulness of the Messiah. Now, our faith it must look like Abraham's, meaning it has to be faith, that trust and loyalty, and faithfulness, living behavior that actually proves that we indeed believe a thing. Now, this faithfulness, it may be demonstrated by anyone. This is not just for Jews. In Paul's day, it was pretty popular to believe, if you want to be a part, you have to become Jewish. And Paul is arguing that that is not so. God is one, which means he is the God of all, both Jews and Gentiles. But having said all that, our faithfulness, it's imperfect and it's insufficient. So God has acted faithfully toward mankind. For his part of the bargain, he has remained true to his word. And this is the righteousness of God that Paul is speaking of in Romans. But man, for his part, has been unable to act in equal faithfulness toward God, at least in any sort of consistent and perfect way. So, ultimately, God sent his Messiah to act in perfect faithfulness back toward him. That's the righteousness of Messiah. So now God was perfect on his side. We have a man who has lived. He was perfect on our side. And because his Messiah was perfectly righteous, he didn't deserve any suffering or any death, but he did suffer and he did die. And so his suffering and his death merited this super abundant and overflowing favor with God. And that favor is available to all who believe. And by believe, we mean demonstrate a faith like Abraham's. The promise of right standing with God comes through Abraham, not Sinai. Through Abraham, God made right standing with him available to all, both Jews and Gentiles. But also through Abraham, God made Israel the conduit through which this right standing would come. So, all of those 4 chapters, I think that is the central message that Paul is talking about. So we end it, therefore, we have this right standing, this justification. We have it. It's available to us. Now what's going to happen? Well, let's move on to chapter 5 and see what Paul says.